All right, we're still letting people in. I think we'll take another minute or two for those folks who are still coming in, but just to let you know, you're in the right place. This is Peaceport Vietnam's English education program for prospective partners. Some of you have heard me say this already, but for those of you who are just coming in, we'd like to ask you to take a moment, take a minute or two to consider the question you see on the screen right now. If you could, note your responses to this question, and we'll come back to it later in a later part of the session. Nice to see everybody this afternoon. We have a nice sunny afternoon today. All right, letting one more person in, a few more people. Okay. Okay, Ayn, we're ready to get started. You're on mute, Ayn. You're still on mute, Ayn.
Mute.
Yes.
I'm sorry for that. Good afternoon, our presenters and participants. Welcome to Virtual Viet International Convention 2021. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you so much for the participation and contribution to our annual convention success. I'm Đức Anh from Viet University and other moderator, Ngô Thị Yên Trang from University of Foreign Language Studies. And we will be the presentation's moderator today. We are delighted to see all you all in light of the virtual present today, especially in this 60 minutes workshop. We do hope that all of you will be able to have some valuable knowledge and experience takeaways for the following talk. Then we gladly welcome Ms. Kate Becker and Mr. Luis Valadez from Peacecorp, and for the 60 minutes workshop, which is entitled Peacecorp Vietnam's English Education Program for Prospective Partners. So I think that for the self-introduction, Ms. Valadez and Ms. Kate Becker, Ms. Kate Becker will introduce themselves, and then yep, to stay on you now.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for Peacecorp Vietnam's English Education Program for Prospective Partners. What that means really is anybody who's interested in the Peacecorp Vietnam program, who is interested in Peace Corps and curious about what we're doing here. We highly value your presence here, and we highly value this opportunity to engage with you and to get your input and feedback as we work on developing a program here in Vietnam. So I had asked everybody as they were coming in to consider this question, which is, how might a foreign teacher be best utilized as a resource for English learning in a high school setting? If you have considered this and noted your ideas in response to it, thank you very much. We're going to come back to it later in the session. And we'll start with introductions of our presenters today. So I will just briefly introduce our country director, Kate Becker, who can then further introduce herself.
First, I'd like to welcome everybody to this session. Luis and I are so excited to have the opportunity to speak to all of you. My name is Kate Becker, and I am the country director for Peace Corps. And I feel very honored to have this privilege to serve as the country director for opening the Peace Corps Vietnam program. This has been a long time coming, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I've had a career of working in the United States for a number of NGOs and also a US government agency called AmeriCorps. And I started soon after college. I served in Peace Corps myself as a Peace Corps volunteer for 2 years doing health education in Côte d'Ivoire, West Africa. And that inspired my commitment to volunteerism and service throughout the rest of my career. And I'm very, very pleased to be here today and look forward to continuing this conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And my name is Luis Humberto Valadez, or Luis, as most people call me. And I'm the Director of Programming and Training for Peace Corps Vietnam. I'm very honored to be here. I've been here in Hanoi since last December, and it's been a wonderful experience working to help get the program off the ground. My experience with Peace Corps goes back to my own volunteer service, in which I served as a volunteer in China, the People's Republic of China, from 2012 to 2014. After that, I was very fortunate to continue to actually work for the program in China for about 6.5 years up until I came here. Prior to that, I was a teacher in the Chicago area of the United States, working a lot with both the English as a second language population and also working in social services with the homeless student population in the Chicago area. Very honored to be here with you all today. Kate and I are very honored to be here with you all today. Very honored to have the opportunity to allow you to get to know us a little bit. And of course, you will have a chance to get to know Peace Corps a lot in this session. Before we do that, however, we do want to take some time to get to know all of you who are with us today. We highly value your presence here in this session, and we highly value your partnership as we continue to think through our plans for the program. So in order to help us get to know you a little bit better, we'd like to ask everybody if you can open a browser page or potentially on your phone or on your computer and go to this URL. It's a Poll Everywhere site, polllev.com/Luis Valadez 470. When you go there, there will be a short poll that we're going to ask each of you to participate in, which is going to help us to get to know all of you a little better. And we'll share the results of that poll. There won't be any personal information in there, don't worry, which will help us all to get to know each other a little bit better. So if you've already gone there, you might see that you have to wait until the poll gets started. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing here, stop sharing the presentation, and I'm actually going to go over to the Poll Everywhere site and open the poll for everybody. So everyone now should see the first question, which is, how long have you been teaching? And we'll take a moment to get everyone's responses.
And Luis, I also pasted the URL for the poll in the chat if it's easier for people to connect that way.
Thank you. All right. We'll take another few seconds and then I'll move on to the next question. And you should now be able to see the next question, which is, at what level do you primarily teach? Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question. There's 4 questions altogether. You should be able to see it now, which is, in which setting do you primarily teach? Okay. All right. And we'll move on to our final question. So this question is a little bit different. The question is, using one word, please share what you feel is a key success factor for a foreign teacher. So in this case, you're typing in one word, which you think is a key success factor for a foreign teacher. You can share as many times as you want, but please only type in one word at a time. All right. And we'll take a moment or two to let everyone answer. This one takes a little bit longer to answer. And I'll be sharing the responses with you momentarily, but I feel quite privileged to see what's coming up right now. A lot of good responses. Yeah. Of course, feel free, if you have multiple success factors that you want to share, feel free to type them in. Let's take another few moments, and then I'm excited to share these results with you. All right, we're still getting responses, which is great. All right, I am going to go ahead and deactivate the poll so that we're not getting responses anymore, so that I can now switch over to sharing the poll results with you, which I think are very interesting. Okay. So response to our first question, how long have you been teaching? Pretty down the middle here, with 50% saying they've been teaching for more than 10 years and 50% saying 2 to 4 years. Very exciting for us. We love to get input coming in from all levels of experience and backgrounds. Thank you. Second question, at what level do you primarily teach? So not an overwhelming majority, but a majority nonetheless of you responded university, with 43% saying upper secondary. Again, we appreciate the diversity of background in the group. And very split evenly here. The question, in which setting do you primarily teach? 50% of you responded public school setting, and 50% responded with private school setting. Again, really great for us. Means we have a pretty diverse group of educators in the room. And this last question. So you'll see here, those of you who are familiar with Poll Everywhere will understand this, but I'll explain a little bit for those of you who are not. So after you inputted your one-word responses, Poll Everywhere inputs them into this, which a lot of people refer to as a Wordle, some word art. You'll notice that some of these words are larger than others, and those are the words in which they had multiple people actually all type those in and respond with those. So it looks like overwhelmingly amongst all of you who responded, I know some of you probably responded more than others, you felt that skills and knowledge were the main key success factors for a foreign teacher. very helpful for us to know this. We certainly agree with you. A lot of really good other responses here, which we appreciate, things like passion, flexibility, cooperation, language, and so forth, all of which I feel like contribute to those bigger concepts of skills and knowledge as well. And it also helps us to get a sense too, maybe of what your experience might have been so far with foreign teachers teaching in Vietnam, which is something that is also really important for us to know as we shape our program. So thank you very much for participating in the poll. Thank you very much for allowing us to get to know you a little bit better with this really valuable information. We'll go back to the presentation now. And now that you've had a chance to get to know Kate and I a little bit, we've had a chance to get to know you a little bit. We're very excited to now have this opportunity to let you get to know Peace Corps a bit and what our plans are here in Vietnam. So we're going to begin with an overview of Peace Corps as a program and our program in Vietnam, which will be led by Kate.
So hello again. I want to begin by sharing a little bit of history about Peace Corps. This year, Peace Corps celebrates 60 years of existence. We were established in 1961 by President Kennedy. Many of you may remember his inaugural speech where the one sentence about ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. The spirit that he brought to his presidency was very much about bringing citizens forward. And he also cared a lot about creating strong relationships around the world. And so Peace Corps was a key component of that. Peace Corps was created as an independent United States government agency. There have been approximately 240,000 volunteers who have served in 142 countries. Some of those countries don't exist under the same name anymore. Some may not exist as a country because of border changes, etc. Vietnam will be the 143rd country where Peace Corps will have served. When an American chooses to do Peace Corps, it's a lengthy application process and a very selective process. And one of the key things is that the American needs to be committing to be able to serve for 2 years as a Peace Corps volunteer. So that length of time is important to Peace Corps' success. And it is also a really hard commitment for a lot of people to commit for a year, or excuse me, for 2 years. And our Peace Corps volunteers represent the diversity of the United States. And I think a lot of people understand that the United States is a very diverse country, and our volunteers will also represent that, what we consider to be beautiful diversity. The Peace Corps mission is to promote world peace and friendship. And we accomplish this by fulfilling 3 goals. And the first goal is focused on the development aspect of Peace Corps service. And that's helping people of interested countries and meeting their need for trained men and women. And the second 2 goals are tied to the cultural aspects. The goal number 2 is to help promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the people served. So in this case, Vietnam, and to help promote a better understanding of Vietnamese on the part of Americans. And that will happen both during the Peace Corps volunteer service and then also when they go home and for the rest of their lives because of their 2 years of living and working in Vietnam. Worldwide, Peace Corps has 6 different program areas, and they are agriculture, education, health, environment, community economic development, and youth in development. Peace Corps will only come into a country after Peace Corps has been invited. And also will work with the country to identify what the focus will be for the program. Many Peace Corps countries are serving more than one program. Our work in Vietnam will focus on English education. And this program will directly support the national strategy of improving English language skills of youth in the emerging workforce. Getting to Vietnam and getting started in Vietnam has been a 17-year journey. And I think everyone recognizes our two countries have a very strong relationship, and we're interested in continuing to help to strengthen that relationship. But we've also had a complex history, which I think contributes to why it took 17 years for us to get started here. In May of 2016, we signed a bilateral framework agreement. And in this past year, in July, we signed the implementing framework to get Peace Corps started. Our program partners are the Ministry of Education and Training and the Hanoi Department of Education and Training and the Ho Chi Minh City Department of Education and Training. And you'll see there the link to our website. And if you go to the website, when you go to the resources page, and I'll put the URL also into the chat box, you can look at an annual report that we recently published. And we have established an office here in Hanoi, and that's a picture of it there. And in June of 2022, we will be expecting our first group of 20 Peace Corps volunteers. And then those individuals will serve for 2 years. A year into their service, we'll get our second group of 20 Peace Corps volunteers. And we will be serving primarily secondary schools in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, starting in Hanoi. And the decision to do that was related to largely the COVID environment and making it safer for our staff and volunteers to be closer to our office. But we very much look forward to expanding to Ho Chi Minh City in the following year. We may or may not be expanding beyond Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. That will be a mutual agreement between the government of Vietnam and Peace Corps. And we will all be working hard to ensure that we are extremely successful as we start and continue forward in teaching in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City.
Thank you very much, Kate. And it is now my pleasure to be able to speak with you about Peace Corps' approach to English education. And I want to underscore the last point there. We really do see ourselves we really see service as a partnership. As an organization, we don't look at service as something that is us coming somewhere and sort of doing some activity that the host country, the people of the host country actively receive, but really as a partnership. And so on all levels, whether it's on those highest levels and those conversations in which we're deciding the focus and direction of the program here with our government partners, to the level of working with individual schools, teachers, students, etc. We're always looking at this as a partnership. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But first, I want to talk about the approach we take when it comes to English teaching methodology. Peace Corps primarily focuses on and promotes the communicative language teaching method, or CLT, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It is the method that Peace Corps feels uniquely qualified to not only train our volunteers in, but also to provide in context of our service as something that potentially is maybe harder to find in those areas where we're serving. CLT, as I'm sure some of you know, is a method in which interaction is both the means and the ultimate goal of study. And we really emphasize providing opportunities to communicate authentically in the language that students are learning, in this case, English. Why is that important? We see that when students can see themselves in the language that they're speaking, when they can use the language to express something that's personally meaningful to them, they're that much more motivated. And they really are that much more driven, right, to really understand the language holistically. So we're not de-emphasizing the technical aspects of language learning. We're not de-emphasizing learning grammar and pronunciation and so forth, but rather we're looking at interaction, and authentic communication as the underpinning with which we are exploring language acquisition in a holistic way for our students. In this case, then, we really see our volunteer teachers as facilitators in the classroom, facilitating opportunities for language acquisition and study and development. Coming back to this idea about partnering with schools and teachers, what this means on a day-to-day level and in practice is that we would really like our volunteers to be co-teaching with a local Vietnamese teacher and co-planning according to the school needs and the curriculum that the school is already using. Peace Corps certainly we have a whole host of resources and curriculum and ideas that we can bring to the table, and we're very happy to do that. But ultimately, it's not about us coming here to tell people what they need, but rather to understand what the needs are and to understand what the resources and tools are that already exist, and then exploring how we can supplement, enhance, and potentially provide opportunities within that structure that maybe aren't there already or are hard to come by. Furthermore, our volunteers are going to participate in and also organize extracurricular activities that promote English language competency. That could be something that is very centrally language based, like a speech club or a debate team. It can also range in terms of the sort of the centralized focus, right? It can be something sports based, something arts based, even something music based, but ultimately will be conducted in English and will emphasize the opportunities for practicing and developing English language competency that might exist within that activity. Furthermore, we take an intercultural approach to our service, to the work that we do here. Meaning, again, we're not just sending American teachers to Vietnam to teach English, but rather we both train in and expect our volunteers to be learning local language and culture. I'm going to talk a bit in a moment about the extensive training that we give to our volunteers, but I'll let you know now that a big part of that is language and culture of Vietnam. We expect them not only to engage in just training during the training time and to do well in it and to show achievement in it, but also we expect them to continue that study on their own after they are into their service, and we will continually assess that. Why is that important to us? If we go back to the 3 goals, right? If we go back to trying to address and express need, how can you understand the needs of a community if you don't understand the community itself, right? And whereas we see ourselves as partnering with our colleagues, right? And so our colleagues, our Vietnamese colleagues and partners are going to bring a lot to the table in terms of that understanding. It's also incumbent upon us to develop our understanding as well so that we can effectively be a resource for our Vietnamese service communities. And lastly, we provide support for schools and teachers in addition to the support we provide to volunteers. What does this mean? This means everything from formal training opportunities and opportunities to support on a technical level. It also means that our staff, and we have a staff that we're developing who will be providing holistic support to our volunteers, will also be available to do that for our schools and teachers. We'll have staff that schools and teachers can contact to troubleshoot, to ask questions of, to help assist in the development of the relationship with the volunteer teacher, and also who can give us feedback and input on how we might better provide support to them and our volunteers. Which brings me to the subject of Peace Corps volunteers. I would be remiss if we didn't spend some time talking about our volunteers. As Kate mentioned before, the diversity of the United States is something that we value, and embracing that diversity is a principle of Peace Corps. Our volunteers come from all walks of life, all different communities within the US, which allows us to represent the US with a level of fidelity to what we see as the US actually being. Our Peace Corps volunteers are motivated to serve. They're motivated to give this time, which is a no insignificant amount of time, this period of their lives to service, to the intercultural experience. How do we know that? You might be asking that question. How do we know that? There's a few different ways that we develop our knowledge of that. One and first is our very competitive application process that everybody who wants to be a Peace Corps volunteer goes through. And to put it in context, usually this application process begins more than a year before somebody would potentially be arriving in the country that they would potentially serve in. That includes a very lengthy application, interviews, a series of background checks, medical and legal clearances. It also includes training and assessment that these people have to participate in prior to being invited to come to the host country. And so we have a lot of ways before we even allow someone to get on an airplane, right, to assess what their motivation is and why they want to join Peace Corps. Furthermore, as Kate mentioned, our volunteers serve for 27 months. And I'm going to break that down a bit because 24 of those months consist of them in their sites of service conducting service. But those first 3 months consist of a very intensive pre-service training. And actually, during this time, we do not consider them to be volunteers. We consider them to be trainees. This pre-service training period that they participate in not only includes language and culture and teaching methods, TEFL, also includes health and safety, also includes administrative training. And another really significant portion of our training is what we call intercultural competency, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or ICDEI. And what this essentially is training that is focused on developing one's ability to adapt to and interface with cultural differences, which is not as simple, right, as it would seem. Going beyond a theoretical knowledge, right, of cultural differences and a theoretical acceptance, but really exploring how one reacts when they're encountering difference, when they're living in a very different environment where things are done in a very different way, and why it is that they're reacting the way they are, so that they can better adapt to and acculturate in that new context. So as you can imagine, with all of these very intense levels of training, we get to know these people, these trainees, a lot better, and we can better make an assessment of their motivation and how well they're doing before they're actually sent to be volunteers. Our volunteers, as I mentioned before, a central focus isn't just providing service at their site. It's not just that they're there to be good English teachers, which they are, but also to integrate into those communities. Our volunteers receive no salary. So there isn't a financial incentive to join Peace Corps. We do provide them with a modest living stipend to help them cover very basic expenses. But there really is no real salary to speak of. And I spoke a little bit already about the intensive training and support. So I'll leave it there in terms of helping you to understand better who our volunteers are. Okay, so this is the exciting part for us. We've had some time for you to get to know us, to understand us a bit. Those of you who were here at the beginning of the session and even came in a little bit early, you saw that that question that we posed in the beginning, and I'll actually just scroll back to that for everybody's context, because I know we've had people who've come in a little bit later. Up front, at the beginning of this session, we asked everyone to consider this question: how might a foreign teacher be best utilized as a resource for English learning in a high school setting? We asked you to note your responses to this question because we're going to use them relatively soon. You've had a chance to get to know us who are in key leadership positions with Peace Corps Vietnam. You've had a chance to get to know Peaceport itself, its history as an organization and mission, as well as what our plans are in terms of conducting a program in Vietnam. What we'd like for you to do now is to take all of that in mind, and we're going to put you into breakout rooms to discuss this following question. How can Peace Corps best contribute to English education efforts in Vietnam? We're very curious and we're very excited to hear your input on this question, to hear how you would respond to this. This is going to contribute greatly to our continued developing of the program. So I'm going to, in a moment, we'll put you into breakout rooms that will have at most 5 to 6 people. I ask you, this is the TEFL teacher in me, when you're in those rooms, please assign a note taker, a timekeeper, and a representative who is going to report out for your group. We recognize that many of you may not know each other, so we will give you 1 to 2 minutes total to introduce yourselves to each other. And we also recognize that you're probably going to have a lot of different points that are going to come up in this discussion, right? Given what we just saw with the diverse backgrounds and experience of everybody in the audience today. So we also ask that you decide on the top 2 points that you want to share when we come back for the share out. We're going to share as time allows. And then for those groups who maybe didn't get a chance to share, or for those points that we didn't get a chance to get to, we're providing an email address here, vninformation@peacecorps.gov. We would appreciate it if all of the note takers would send your notes to us. This is going to be very helpful to us. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, so I'm going to form the breakout rooms now. In total, we have 39 people. And we're going to have 8 groups, each of which will have 4 to 5 participants. So when you see the prompt, or you'll be assigned to a group, I will also put the directions that I just shared with everybody in the chat box so that everyone can have them. I'm going to do that right now before I assign you to your groups. And we'll begin. We're going to take 10 minutes. So timekeepers, please note that we'll take 10 minutes from the time that you enter the rooms, and then we'll come back and we'll have about 10 minutes to share. So it does appear we have a handful of folks who haven't joined their breakout rooms yet. So all of the rooms will close in 1 minute. Our folks are coming back. Everyone will be back with us in about 10 seconds. Okay, and we're all back. So we're very excited to hear what you all have come up with, and Kate's going to lead us in the share out.
All right, thank you, Luis. Thank you for everybody who just took that time to think about this question with your colleagues. So we are very interested in hearing, after you reflected individually and then had a chance to speak with your colleagues, how and with the added knowledge, with a little bit more information about Peace Corps and how we work, how might a foreign teacher be best utilized as a resource for English learning in a high school? So we'd love for each group to just share one key point. And I'd like to start with room 1. If the representative from that room could tell us what they came up with. And Luis, do they have the ability to speak? Or are you able to unmute? I don't know if that's perhaps the.
Yes, they can unmute themselves. So would the person who was chosen representative from group 1? Oh, okay. So the issue is they forgot which room they were in. Okay. So can we get a representative to just, from a group, to just volunteer to share for their group, just to get us started?
I'm seeing Kui from group 7. Would you please share with us what you came up with your group about how a foreign teacher can be impactful in a classroom and best utilized as a resource? Kui?
Thank you for reminding. So thank you for allowing me to start. So we actually discussed the question about the Peace Corps, how the Peace Corps Vietnam can contribute to the English education of Vietnam. So that's our main focus of discussion. So it is okay I share that?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So our team have 5 members, and we actually have two points. So I'm sure 2 of them are top. So the first one, we talk about the most important thing is the cultural understanding, like American volunteers, American teachers coming here will show the real and authentic American culture. So Vietnamese students will understand that about the diversity, different parts of America. So because they like one of the key things of the Peace Corps is diversity, and we think and we believe that this will be the thing that the volunteers will bring to Vietnam. So we see that intercultural exchange, and it will be a great motivation for students to learn. And the second thing, a very important, what makes them aside from the foreign teachers who already here in Vietnam is that they learning Vietnamese, and language and culture. So because they're doing that, they become the role model, because if they can learn Vietnamese language and culture and engage in the community, so they will motivate the Vietnamese students that students also can do that, and they must do that, because from both sides we are learning from each other, and if one side proves that they can do, so the another side will do that as well.
Wonderful. Kui, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Group 7, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. I'm going to go next to Group 1, and I see Wen Viet Thong, if you wouldn't mind representing your group. Thank you. And if you haven't taken yourself off mute, you will need to do that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hung. I come from Vinh University, and I am willing to represent for Group 1.
Thank you.
Sorry, for Group 1 to represent the results of the discussion, and I think the the Peace Corps can contribute to the education of Vietnam by doing practical things. And our group have 4 suggestions. And the first is providing the resources for teachers and students. The second is organize seminars to improve language skills for teachers and students. And the third is organizing practical activities for students and for teachers to practical language. And the last is organizing contests to promote the desire to practice the language. Yeah, thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. So I think that was great, because we heard different things from both groups so far and appreciate that. Can I get group number 2? Is there somebody from group number 2 who can represent? Or any group that wants to speak? Are there any other groups that are interested in reporting out?
So I'm the moderator.
Okay.
Then we'll put in group 4, but then our group there are only 2 members. So well, let me get started.
Okay.
Then I think that as an educator, as a teacher at university, I've also seen that a Peace Corps, Peace Corps focus on English education in Vietnam. Then it would be practical if Peace Corps focus on the training of language proficiency for teachers themselves, especially not that English teachers, but then the teacher of other languages, of other subjects. Then teacher of other subjects, they kind of have a lot of difficulties in conducting English or advanced curriculum or advanced programs that are conducted in English. Then I think it would be a crucial. Then I think that American also have a lot of ideas. The idea that make up the American to be a great nation. Then promotion of American ideas amongst educators and students would be awesome.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And we have 2 more people with their hands up. So if you can unmute Ton Ban T. Kim, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tang, and I'm from Thuen Quang Viet. Actually, I'm very happy to join this seminar because all the information I'm looking here is very useful. I'm in charge of managing the English teaching and learning in my province. So I wonder that when do Peace Corps have planned to expand the program to partners areas? Because here, apart from great benefits, as the others here talking about that, I think that the most benefit that the teachers and students here, especially in the mountainous areas like Tuyên Quang, that is inspiration, the love to learn English and for the student, and also the a great chance for the English teachers in my province for their professional development, because they have a great opportunity to improve their English teaching and learning as well. So we do hope that in the near future, we can have some kind of plans for the mountainous areas. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. And I think, Luis, we can capture that on the whiteboard by saying, the opportunity to expand beyond Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, which also had come up on the in the chat room earlier. We have 2 minutes left until the end of the session. So I'm going to stop here and let Luis wrap us up. Thank you very much for everybody's conversations and input.
Yes, again, thank you, everyone. And I want to emphasize again this email address that we have here, bninformation@peacecorps.gov. We want to hear everyone's ideas, and we certainly understand and appreciate there might be many questions coming out of this presentation, and we would love to hear them. So please contact us. I want to close us out with just a little bit with an inspirational quote from one of the founders, the first director of Peace Corps, by the name of Sergeant Shriver, which is that peace requires the simple but powerful recognition that what we have in common as human beings is more important and crucial than what divides us. We have certainly felt the sentiment expressed by our partners here in Vietnam, and we're incredibly grateful for it. And we're incredibly grateful for the opportunity to work with our colleagues, partners, our fellow stakeholders in English education in Vietnam to develop this program. We hope that this will just be one of many dialogues that we have with you. Please note that email address. Please find us, note our website. We'll be in touch with the moderator to see if we can send you the materials from this presentation for your reference, and so that you will have our contact information as well. Thank you all very much for joining us today. And we wish you a great rest of the conference, and we wish you a continued, we wish to have a continued dialogue and a successful partnership with all of you here in Vietnam. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. And I just want to add also how much we value each of you as teachers. You're doing one of the most important jobs that exist in this world, and you do it every day. And especially in the COVID environment, we know that you're dealing with a lot of challenges. So thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate it. Look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.